Okay, so thank you all again for logging into our webinar today for the electronics documents in AGRIS. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our presenter, Mike Doris. Take it away, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Nikki. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Very excited to visit with you for a little bit this afternoon. Looks like we got a great crowd, and hopefully you'll find this extremely interesting. The goal here is to give you a high-level overview of each item, and as you'll see, I've included links from our AGRIS customer documentation page, our Confluence page, and each one of those has more information. This is being recorded, and so we will be sharing this with everyone who signed up, and that way you'll have access to all the information that we offer plus more. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box. I will be pausing a couple times in between these items to give you an opportunity, and at the end we'll have questions too, plus we'll always be able to help you as your account manager, and we'll share that information at the end. So with that, we're going to talk about 3 different things today, all revolving around how to manage sending, receiving, and storing documents in AGRIS. We're going to talk about auto email. We're going to talk about ESign, and then we're going to talk about AttachTo. So we're going to start with auto email. This is the one that's been around the longest, and you know, it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand. The goal, obviously, is to make your life easier and either eliminate sending documents on paper through the mail, or to have a more automated option to do the copy, paste, attach that you might be doing now with email. A couple things really important. Number one, each form or report must be in a graphic format to be emailed, and we can help you get that taken care of should you need that. Every customer in AGRIS will need to have an email assigned to them, and you could have more than one email assigned if you like to their account, but they have to have a minimum of one. The body of each email is totally customizable, and you can have templates set up, or you can change it on the fly as you need. Then each report or form can have a predetermined distribution list, and this is really important, and again, designed to make your life easier, because some forms or reports you might only want to go to certain groups of people in the list, and others might be a totally different list. The email works with any email system. I think that's probably a given these days, but I thought it was good to mention that. And then finally, this auto email function came out in about, I believe, 10.2, but in the latest 20.3 version, we have provided you the option to encrypt the PDF documents that you're emailing. So in keeping with today's world, we offer 3 encryption options. The first one being no encryption. The second one being encryption without a password, which is the default. And then the third, encryption with a password. And you can set these options up by data set. So some information you might want to have in one option, other information you might want to have in another. So again, pretty straightforward, but you know, just again, want to make sure everybody understands of it. So how do you get auto email? Well, back in the day, it used to be, as I understand, it used to be an option that could be purchased as a license. But when we redid all of our user packages, we have changed that, and auto email is now available in the advanced or the elite user packages. It is not available in standard. So we can, as your account managers, we can help you with user package upgrades to take advantage of this. And if you want to go into your own AGRIS, you can go into AGRIS and maintenance, and you'll see email forms maintenance and email reports maintenance. And as you click through there, if those are available to you, then you can see exactly how to do it and what needs to be done in order for you to use it. Here's the link to our customer documentation on email forms and reports. This is the main one. There are others. And again, as I mentioned, you'll get a copy of this so you don't need to scribble down this long link.
Mike, we had one question that has come in regarding auto email. And the question is there a way to get auto email upgrading without upgrading all AGRIS users and licenses?
Right. Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. A user upgrade is required for that.
Awesome. Any other questions? Feel free to type them into the chat and we'll review them as we go along. Thanks, Mike.
That. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about ESign. ESign, the goal for ESign is to eliminate paper, eliminate sending contracts, and the time that is needed for it to get to your customer, to be signed, copied, scanned, filed, sent back, all of that stuff. So ESign eliminates all that, allows you complete control, complete knowledge on where the contract is, who it was sent to, and what's going on with it. So it's a pretty simple process, really. You create the contract in AGRIS, and then with ESign, you have a dashboard. And that dashboard, and I'll show you screens of that in a second, but that dashboard shows all of the contracts that are available to be sent for purchase. It shows you contracts that have been sent that are pending, and it shows you contracts that have been signed and returned. And you can send one or multiple contracts to the same person. When your customer or farmer receives the email, it's going to have a link with all the details of that contract. They open it, review the documents. The very first time, they'll have to do some acceptance to use ESign, but after that, they're all ready to rock. They'll click on the contract blanks as they scroll down through the contract itself. And if initials are required, it'll put the person's initials in. If a signature is required, it'll add a signature. Once all of those boxes have been checked, the contract will then be sent back to the ESign dashboard, and the farmer will receive an email confirmation with the signed contract, a link to the signed contract attached to it. And now that can be downloaded, printed, or both. Now, one of the great things about this system is not only does it take care of all of that, but it also goes in your AGRIS and marks the contract signed and complete and changes the contract signed status to yes in AGRIS. So that's a really helpful feature that just completes the circuit. Now, the PDF is also stored in AttachTo, which we'll talk about in a minute, in AGRIS for future reference. And for our customers that have My Grower, they have the added option of signing ESign contracts in My Grower in addition to just through general email. Now here's the ESign Dashboard, and you'll note that this is the list of contracts that are ready to send for signature. Now, as your AGRIS users produce these contracts and set them up to be ready for signature, this is the screen where someone in your organization can review and approve all of these to be sent. You can see it has the general information, but it also, the contract number, that is actually a live link where you can click and see the contract details itself. So those can be declined or amended as need to be. So this is the list ready to send. If they're okay and they're approved, then they are clicked and sent. And now here's the list of contracts that are pending. Again, you still have the live link of seeing what the contract details are. You can see what the document date is, and you can see the email address. So you know how long it's been out there, and you know if you need to give that person a call, remind them they've got it, or see if there's an issue, something they don't agree with. This is what the email looks like. The document on the left is the email itself. Apologies, my mailman's here. My dog's going nuts. Hope you didn't hear that. But on the left is what the email looks like. And you'll see it's got the person's name, who sent it to you, the document number, and then you just click on that, go to documents, and you're going to open this, what you see on the right, the PDF of the contract itself. And as you scroll through the pages, you'll see, just like that little box, click to sign, click to initial, whatever the case may be. So they'll scroll through and see all of those, and at the end, it will be completed and it'll be sent back. And then it'll show up back on the ESign dashboard of all the signed and completed ones. And so again, you can see the contract number and all the important documents right there. Now, what does that completed document look like? Well, you'll see, and I apologize, this is going to be super small, but down in the lower corner where it says accepted by customer, it says signed by the person's name, and then it has a time and a date stamp. So you know exactly what was signed, when, and by whom. Again, as I was mentioning earlier, you see on the right side of the screen, signed status is changed to Y. And then you'll notice down in the lower right hand or the lower left hand corner, the little paper clip. That is our AttachTo product, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And that is where that signed PDF will live in AGRIS.
Okay, Mike, we have a comment that has come in.
Okay.
It says, currently, items stay in pending in the action list, even though OneSpan has dropped them out because they are old and not signed. You cannot currently delete contracts out of pending. Would prefer that contracts that are filled get dropped out of the pending list.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I wasn't aware of that. So what you're saying is that in this pending list right here, we're not able to remove those from the list. Let me make a note of that, and I will check on that for you.
Awesome. We have another question that has come in. Who approves the contracts once submitted to the approval system?
Yes, that's a great question. That is up to your company themselves. You can choose who approves those. And there could be multiple approvers, but that's designated during the setup time of who approves those.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, guys. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Again, here's the link to the AGRIS customer documentation ESign page. I decided to put a few of the requirements up here, or I guess the list of requirements that we have. We'd really want you to be on a version of AGRIS less than a year old. You'll need the .NET 4.7.2. It does require SQL Server Express 2017 or higher. Your pervasive V12 or higher, and then AttachTo that we'll talk about in a minute. And again, just like the previous auto email, the contract does need to be in a graphic form in order for it to be e-signed. And then obviously valid email addresses, which in some instances is pretty easy, and in other instances that's going to be a little work for folks. Any other questions, Nikki?
I had another comment that came in that mentions that if you delete them, they come back in, and that security for this can only be assigned at a user level, not as a group level in security. So that was a comment that came in on that.
Oh. Well, let me double check that. Not arguing with it at all. Security by person, not by group. All right, we will be back in touch on that.
Okay. That's it for right now.
Okay. All right, so now let's switch over to AttachTo. Now, AttachTo is the electronic document storage system inside of AGRIS. And as I mentioned just a little bit ago, you know, ESign requires AttachTo, and the reason it does is because you have all these PDFs of these contracts, and there's you know, there's no place to put them if you don't have AttachTo. So you know, AttachTo does several things. Obviously, it stores those contracts that were e-signed. It also automatically captures documents that are printed in AGRIS, so you don't have to copy, scan, you know, save, all that kind of stuff. It records when the document was attached and who did it, so you kind of have an audit trail of what's going on. And another cool thing is, I think, is it's able to accept non-AGRIS documents, and those documents, they can be segregated and they can be protected based on what type of documents they are. And I found this little blurb in our AGRIS customer documentation that kind of, you know, gave a great example of it, where you might have miscellaneous documents, you might have tax documents, and then you might have a credit app. Well, you know, you can have different security for each one, completely open for miscellaneous documents, limits for only the people who have rights for tax documents on number 2, and then even a further restriction who have access to see the credit info. So just a little tidbit there for you. Now, as far as the documents in AGRIS themselves, in each of the different modules, these are all of the document types that will be automatically saved into AttachTo if you choose. And so really a pretty complete list. And as I look through it, I'm really not aware of anything that is not included, but if you see something that's not included, you know, we can certainly check into it. Now, as we move on, again, the paperclip in the lower left-hand corner is the magic button there. So this is an accounts receivable account balance, and if that paperclip is green, then there is an attachment related to the transaction. You click on that, and you'll get this window in the lower bottom right that shows what documents are available, and you can go through and click on all those and see, you know, the corresponding documentation relating to that transaction. Now, there are two ways to actually get AttachTo. AttachTo can be purchased, and it's a license and a yearly maintenance and support fee. And the pricing is based on the number of sites that many of the users, or that the users that may attach documents in AGRIS are. So if you do all of your documentation in one main site, you know, you only need one instance. If you have folks at several different sites that might be using it, then that would be different. The other way is to upgrade to the AGRIS Elite Users Edition, and then AttachTo is included in the Elite users. And just as I'm thinking back, I guess one thing I didn't touch on for ESign, the ESign itself is based on the number of documents that are sent out for signature. So it is not based on users or sites or anything like that. It is strictly the number of documents that are sent for signature. All right, and from AttachTo, I put a link here. Again, this is on our AGRIS customer documentation page. This is a best practices getting started keys for success, because I think that's obviously there's other information there, but that's a really good place to start, because you know, you can be overwhelmed with paper, and then, you know, kind of get overwhelmed with saving all the documents if you so choose. So I think this is a great place that we've put together some information for you.
Okay, we have another question that has come in regarding AttachTo, and that is, how do I know how much storage space on the server I would need for the AttachTo docs?
That's a great question, and that kind of that dovetails right into what my comment just was on the fact that you know, you can save everything, and then that starts adding up to some server space. So what I would recommend is you reach out to your account manager, and we have a sheet that we can share with you that does some of these calculations based on the number of expected documents you might want to save, and that will give you some idea of how much storage space you need.
Okay, great. Folks, we still have a few minutes left for any additional comments or questions or concerns. Please feel free to put them into the chat, as we do have time for some Q&A if there's some other questions that are being posed. Give it a minute or two for that to see what other questions come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, I wanted to put everybody's contact information up. Again, I'm Mike Doris, Nikki's talking. We've got Jake Schwab, and then I think a lot of you know Chrissy. She's still on maternity leave, but you know, we're all here to help you. And I know I've mentioned the AGRIS customer documentation a lot. If you don't remember that link, just Google AGRIS customer documentation. That'll get you right to the main page. And there's a search box right in the top middle that you could put in ESign or auto email or AttachTo or really anything that you want, and it will help you figure stuff out. I use the AGRIS customer documentation page all the time.
We have some more questions that have come in, Mike. And one comment is, it is also recommended that you do not store your docs on the same server that you're running AGRIS. So that was one comment that was made.
Yes, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point.
And then another question that has come in is, can you talk about security settings in AttachTo?
I don't really know too many details, just to be honest, I don't really know too many details about the security settings. But we can certainly find more information out about that.
Okay, we could also include that in the email that we send out with the recording, the answers to those questions. Any additional questions at this time?
All right, well, thank you again. Thank you very much for your time. Like I say, the goal here was to kind of give a high-level overview and whet your interest for these products. Feel free to reach out, and we're happy to have more individualized conversations.
Thank you very much for joining us today, guys, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Take care. Actually, Mike?
Yes?
I had another question that just came in.
Oh,
it
sure.
says, our mail forms maintenance is available, but there is nothing filled out. Does that mean I have just a standard edition of AGRIS and do not have the email service?
Yes, that would be the case. Yep.
Okay. Great. Give it another 30 seconds, just in case we have another question that comes in. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in at this time.
Hey, Mike, back to the question about AttachTo security. There are 7 different levels of security that you can set for AttachTo. The first one being no access at all. You can do view only. You can do view only and add. You can do view only, add, and process. View only, add, and reverse. View only, add, and edit. And view only, add, and delete.
Wow. Thank you, Dick.
And that can also be set by document type and package. So if you have someone that needs full access in grain, but not in like AR or AP, that's divisible by package as well, and individual menu option.
Okay.
We'll make sure we include that in our email reply to everyone. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's going to wrap up our webinar for today. Thank you all for your great questions and again for attending. We appreciate it. And thanks for a great presentation, Mike.
Thank you. Take care.